May 27, 1941. Dawn. Bismarck was surrounded, British battleships closing from behind, cruisers shadowing from the sides, destroyers circling like wolves. Captain Ernst Lindemann stood on the bridge. He wanted to fight, turn and engage, die with honor, but Admiral Lütjens overruled him. Bismarck would run. Her fate was sealed. Bismarck was Germany's pride, the largest battleship ever built by Germany, launched in 1939. She displaced 50,300 tons fully loaded, armed with 8 15-inch guns in 4 twin turrets, 12 5.9-inch secondary guns, massive anti-aircraft armament. Her armor was formidable, belt armor up to 12, 6 inches thick, turret faces protected by 14, 1 inches of steel. She was designed to dominate. The ship was named after Otto von Bismarck, the Iron Chancellor, the architect of German unification, the statesman who forged the German Empire. The battleship embodied German power, German engineering, German ambition. She was built to challenge British naval supremacy, to break the blockade, to dominate the Atlantic. Captain Ernst Lindemann commanded her, a career naval officer, experienced, professional, devoted to his ship. He believed in Bismarck, believed in her strength, believed she could defeat any enemy. He trained his crew relentlessly, made them the best, made them ready. They trusted him, followed him, believed in him, but Lindemann did not command the operation. Admiral Lütjens held overall command. He flew his flag from Bismarck. He made the strategic decisions. Lindemann commanded the ship, but Lütjens commanded the mission. And their philosophies differed, fundamentally, fatally. Lindemann was a fighter. He believed in engaging the enemy, in using Bismarck's power, her guns, her armor. He wanted glory, victory, honor through combat. Lütjens was cautious, a commerce raider. He believed in avoiding battle, in sinking merchant ships, in preserving the fleet. He feared losing Bismarck, feared the political consequences. Hitler would be furious. The propaganda defeat would be catastrophic. Their disagreement would doom them both. May 18, 1941. Bismarck and heavy cruiser Prince Eugen departed Norway. Operation Rheinübung, Rhine exercise. Their mission was commerce raiding, break into the Atlantic, hunt convoys, sink merchant ships, disrupt British supply lines, force the Royal Navy to disperse, to chase, to weaken. They sailed north, through Norwegian waters, toward the Denmark Strait, the passage between Iceland and Greenland, the route to the Atlantic, the gateway to freedom. British intelligence detected them. Reconnaissance aircraft photographed Bismarck in Norwegian fjords. The alarm was raised. The home fleet mobilized. HMS Hood and HMS Prince of Wales sailed to intercept. The battlecruiser and the battleship, Britain's finest ships, racing to block the strait, to stop Bismarck, to protect the convoy. They reached position first, waiting, watching, ready. On May 24th dawn, the forces met. Battle of Denmark Strait. Bismarck's guns roared. Her fifth salvo hit Hood, a catastrophic hit. The battlecruiser exploded, broke in half, sank in 3 minutes. 1,415 men died. Only 3 survived. Britain's pride was destroyed. Prince of Wales engaged, scored hits on Bismarck, ruptured fuel tanks, contaminated fuel oil, reduced range, reduced speed, caused flooding. But Prince of Wales was damaged too, withdrew, broke contact. Bismarck had won, but she was wounded. After the battle, Lindemann and Lütjens disagreed, fundamentally, about what to do next. Lindemann wanted to pursue, finish Prince of Wales, destroy her, complete the victory. Bismarck had the power, the advantage, the momentum. They should use it, press the attack, win decisively. Lütjens refused. Bismarck was damaged, fuel was leaking, speed was reduced to 28 knots. The mission was compromised. They should return to France, to Saint Nazaire, repair, try again later. Survival was paramount, not glory, not victory. Survival, Lindemann protested, argued. Bismarck could still fight. The damage was not critical. They could complete the mission, attack convoys, prove German superiority, return victorious. But Lütjens was adamant they would head for France. The discussion was over. Lütjens made another decision. He detached Prince Eugen, sent her to raid independently. Bismarck would continue alone, draw British forces away from the cruiser, sacrifice herself if necessary. This angered Lindemann further. Bismarck alone was more vulnerable, less capable. Why split the force? Why weaken themselves? But Lütjens commanded. His orders stood. Bismarck turned southeast, heading for France, for safety, for survival. Prince Eugen disappeared into the Atlantic. The British continued pursuing, shadowing. For reinforcements. On May 25th, Bismarck briefly evaded, shook the pursuers, but her position was betrayed by a radio transmission. The British found her again, more ships converged. The Royal Navy mobilized everything. Force H sailed from Gibraltar. Battleship HMS Rodney diverted from convoy escort. Battleships King George V and Rodney. Battlecruiser HMS Renown. Aircraft carrier HMS Ark Royal. Cruisers, destroyers, dozens of ships, converging on Bismarck, hunting. Determined, vengeful, Admiral John Tovey commanded. He was methodical, patient, professional. He knew Bismarck's approximate heading, toward France, toward Brest or Saint-Nazaire. He positioned his forces to intercept, to cut her off, to force battle. On May 26th, aircraft from Ark Royal attacked. Swordfish torpedo bombers, slow, obsolete, fabric-covered biplanes but effective. They launched torpedoes, most missed, but one hit, aft near the rudders. The explosion jammed Bismarck's steering. The rudder stuck at 12 degrees to port. Damage control teams tried to repair, impossible. The damage was too severe, too deep, too inaccessible. Divers went overboard, in freezing water, trying to free the rudder, failed. Engineers tried steering with propellers, partially successful. But Bismarck could not maintain course, could not steer straight. She steamed in circles, heading northwest, toward the enemy, away from France, away from safety. Her fate was sealed. Night of May 26th. British destroyers attacked. 5 destroyers, tribal class, fast, aggressive. They circled Bismarck. Launching torpedoes, firing guns, harassing, preventing rest, preventing repairs, the battleship's guns fired back. Searchlights swept the darkness. Tracers filled the night. But the destroyers were elusive, fast, dodging, weaving. No torpedoes hit, but the attack achieved its purpose. Exhaustion, Bismarck's crew got no rest, no sleep. They were already tired. Days of battle, days of pursuit, now constant attacks, constant vigilance. Morale suffered, fatigue set in. Lindemann watched from the bridge. Frustrated, angry, his ship was being harassed, tormented, unable to fight back effectively, unable to escape, just enduring, suffering. He wanted to turn, engage properly, use Bismarck's power, her guns, destroy the destroyers, but Lütjens ordered maintaining course, heading toward France. Still hoping, still believing they could reach safety, but everyone knew France was too far, the steering was jammed. The British battleships would arrive at dawn. This was the last night. Tomorrow would bring the final battle. The crew prepared, checked equipment, wrote last letters, said prayers, made peace. Captain Lindemann prepared to fight. May 27th, 08:47 a.m. HMS Rodney opened fire, range 25,000 yards. Her 16-inch guns thundered. 9 guns. 3 triple turrets. The shells arced through the sky, toward Bismarck. HMS King George V joined in, 10 14-inch guns. The British battleships had caught up. The chase was over. The execution would begin. Bismarck returned fire. Her guns roared, 15-inch shells streaking toward the enemy. Her gunnery was excellent, accurate. Near misses straddled Rodney, but no hits, not yet. The range was long, the sea rough. Bismarck's damaged steering made aiming difficult. She could not maintain a steady course, could not provide a stable firing platform. At 08:50, Rodney scored the first hit. A 16-inch shell struck Bismarck's forward superstructure near the bridge. The explosion was devastating, killed officers, wounded others, damaged fire control. More hits followed, pounding the superstructure, the forward turrets. The deck, this was the moment. Captain Lindemann turned to Admiral Lütjens, spoke urgently, forcefully. We must turn and engage properly. Use our full broadside, fight with honor. We are doomed anyway, let us die fighting. Lütjens hesitated, considered, but shook his head. Maintain course. Continue toward France. Lindemann's face showed disbelief. Anger, but he obeyed, followed orders, even orders he believed were wrong, even orders that sealed their fate. The British battleships closed the range, 20,000 yards, 15,000 yards, 10,000 yards, point blank for battleship combat. They poured fire into Bismarck, shell after shell, salvo after salvo. The German battleship was being systematically destroyed, beaten into wreckage. Bismarck's forward turrets fell silent, destroyed, jammed, disabled. Her fire control was wrecked, rangefinders smashed, radar destroyed. She fired locally, individual turrets aiming independently, less accurate, less effective, but still firing, still fighting. At 0902, a shell destroyed the forward fire control. Another wrecked the bridge. Lindemann was wounded, shrapnel in his leg. But he stayed at his post, commanding, directing what fire was possible. His face was grim, determined. This was how it would end, but he would fight to the last. HMS Rodney closed to 3,000 yards, 3 kilometers, incredibly close, firing directly into Bismarck, almost horizontally. Shells smashing through armor, through bulkheads, through everything. Bismarck was a wreck, her superstructure destroyed, fires burning, bodies everywhere. Dead and wounded, but the crew fought on, manning whatever guns still worked, firing, reloading, firing again. At 0931, Bismarck's last turret fell silent. No more guns, no more fire, just a burning, battered hulk. At 10:00, Admiral Tovey ordered cease fire. Bismarck was no longer a fighting ship, just a wreck. Floating, burning, but not sinking, her armor had held. Her compartments resisted flooding. She would not go down easily, not to gunfire alone. Captain Lindemann gave his final orders. Abandon ship, scuttle, open the seacocks, flood the ship, destroy her, do not let the British capture her. The crew responded. Those who could, many were dead, wounded, trapped. But survivors opened valves, set demolition charges, prepared to abandon. Lindemann stayed on the bridge, wounded, exhausted. He would not leave. This was his ship, his command, his responsibility. He would go down with her, as tradition demanded, as honor required. Admiral Lütjens was already dead, killed earlier in the battle. His caution had failed. His strategy had failed. Both admirals would die. At 10:39, Bismarck rolled to port. Capsizing, men jumped into the water. Hundreds swimming in the freezing Atlantic, all covered. The battleship turned turtle, paused, then sank, stern first, sliding into the depths. Into 4,800 meters of water, she was gone. The British ships rescued survivors, 110 men, out of 2,200 crew. Captain Lindemann was not among them. He went down with Bismarck. What if Lindemann had commanded? What if his strategy had been followed? What if Bismarck had turned and fought after sinking Hood, pursued Prince of Wales, destroyed her, then continued the mission, attacked convoys, caused havoc? Or what if, on that final morning, Bismarck had turned to engage, used her full broadside, all 8 15-inch guns, fought at optimum angle? Maybe she would have hit Rodney. Damaged her, changed the battle? Probably not, probably still lost, but died fighting on her terms with honor. Instead, Bismarck ran, tried to escape, steamed toward France while being pounded, used only her after turrets, half her firepower, limited effectiveness. She died anyway, but died running, died trying to escape, not fighting, not defiant, just desperate. Lindemann wanted to fight, wanted to use Bismarck's power, wanted to die with honor if death was inevitable. He was overruled. By caution, by calculation, by hope that somehow survival was possible, it was not. The steering was jammed. The British were closing. France was too far. Fate was sealed. But the manner of death could have been different. Lindemann knew that, and it tormented him in his final hours. 2,200 men sailed on Bismarck. Only 110 survived. 2,090 died, killed in battle, drowned in the sinking, lost in the freezing Atlantic. The casualty rate was over 95%, nearly total loss. Captain Lindemann died with his ship. Admiral Lütjens died on the bridge. Most senior officers were killed. Most of the crew perished. The British rescued 110 initially, but German U-boats and aircraft approached. Tovey ordered withdrawal. The rescue stopped. Hundreds of men were still in the water, still alive, swimming, calling. The British ships left them, had to leave them. The threat was too great. German ships rescued 5 more men later. Total survivors 115. The survivors carried guilt. Why them? Why not others? They had followed orders, done their duty, but their ship was destroyed. Their comrades dead. Some blamed Lütjens, some blamed bad luck, some blamed fate, but all remembered, all mourned, all were haunted. Two philosophies, two strategies, two leaders, one ship. Lütjens believed in caution, in commerce raiding, in preserving the fleet, in avoiding decisive battle, in survival. His strategy was retreat. Detach Prince Eugen, run for France, avoid the British. Escape, repair, try again. Lindemann believed in aggression, in using Bismarck's power, in engaging the enemy. In decisive battle, in honor through combat, his strategy was fight, pursue Prince of Wales, attack convoys, turn and engage at the end, die fighting if necessary, but die with honor. Who was right? Strategically, Lütjens was probably correct. Bismarck was damaged, low on fuel, deep in enemy waters. Escape was the logical choice, but it failed. The steering jammed, the British caught up, fate intervened. Tactically, Lindemann might have been right. If death was inevitable, fight properly, use full firepower, maximum effectiveness, maybe damage British ships, maybe change something, at minimum die honorably, die fighting, not running, we will never know. Lütjens commanded, Lindemann obeyed, both died, Bismarck sank, Germany mourned. Bismarck rests in 4,800 meters of water. Southwest of Ireland, the wreck was discovered in 1989 by Robert Ballard. She sits upright on the seabed, relatively intact. The superstructure collapsed, gun turrets displaced, but recognizable. The damage is severe, shell holes, torpedo hits, explosion damage, evidence of the pounding she endured. The wreck confirmed the scuttling charges were detonated. Bismarck was scuttled by her crew, not sunk by British fire alone. The gunfire disabled her, made her a wreck, but the crew ensured she sank, opened valves, set charges, destroyed her themselves, denying the enemy a prize. The wreck is a grave. 2,090 men remain there, in darkness, in cold, in steel, protected, honored, remembered. Expeditions visit, document, respect, but do not disturb. The dead rest. Bismarck's loss was devastating for Germany. Propaganda defeat, psychological blow. The mighty battleship destroyed on her first mission. Hitler was furious. He restricted capital ship operations, forbade aggressive missions. The surface fleet became increasingly passive, cautious, irrelevant. For Britain, it was triumph. Revenge for Hood, vindication of naval power. Churchill was relieved, the threat was ended, the Atlantic was safer, convoys were protected, morale improved, the Royal Navy had hunted, chased, caught, destroyed, proven they could win, proven British determination, proven nothing was invincible, but the cost was high. Hood lost, Prince of Wales damaged, thousands of miles steamed, dozens of ships involved, days of pursuit, enormous resources just to sink one ship, one powerful ship. But still just one. The lesson was clear. Modern battleships were powerful, but vulnerable, huntable, destroyable. Captain Lindemann wanted to fight, turn Bismarck around, engage the enemy, use her power, her guns, her armor, fight with honor, die with honor if necessary, but die fighting, die defiant. Die as a warrior, not as prey, not as hunted, as hunter, as battleship, as what Bismarck was designed to be. Admiral Lütjens overruled him, ordered continued retreat, ordered heading for France, ordered caution, ordered survival. The decision was reasonable, logical, strategic, but fate intervened. The torpedo jammed the rudder. The British caught up. Survival became impossible. Escape became fantasy. Death became inevitable. But the manner of death was chosen: run and die, or fight and die. Lütjens chose run. Lindemann wanted fight. Lütjens commanded. Lindemann obeyed. Both died anyway. Bismarck sank anyway. The outcome was the same, but the manner mattered. To Lindemann, to history, to honor. Captain Lindemann wanted to fight. Bismarck's fate was sealed instead. That was the tragedy. Not the defeat, but the manner.